And what's most important to remember in this review is whenever I say something you agree with, it's me, it's your boy, it's Ren. But if I say something you disagree with, just know that it's an imposter, it's a fake, it's a Skrull. And now you know. Welcome back, Marvel fans, to my spoiler-free review of Marvel's Secret Invasion, based on the iconic comic book storyline where Skrulls take over the Earth and the identity of our heroes without them even knowing. A storyline that has been promised to us since Captain Marvel came out. And in this show, we find Nick Fury uncovering a conspiracy by a group of renegade Skrulls to gain control of the Earth by assuming positions of power across the world. And Nick Fury, while haunted by his past, recruits Maria Hill and Talos to stop this conspiracy and save humanity. And not only is this the first MCU show of 2023, it's the first MCU show of Phase 5, and easily my most anticipated project of the phase, at least of the ones that have been announced. And I just love that we finally have an MCU show centered around Nick Fury. And I just love that we have an MCU project focused on Nick Fury, who is easily one of my favorite aspects of this series thus far. Whenever you have Samuel L. Jackson just riffing with the rest of the characters in this show, it is so captivating to watch because not only is he a character we know and have grown to love through the years, but there is still such an air of mystery around him. Despite him showing up in however many MCU projects he has, there's still such a sense of secrecy to who he really is. What is he really feeling about it? And how does he view the world? And we have seen so little of him after the blip that there's a lot of intrigue surrounding this character. So he just fits the tone and the atmosphere of this show like a glove. And what makes the tone and atmosphere of this show work so well is that you're not eased into anything. You're thrown right into the midst of what is going on. The conspiracy is already in effect. The Skrulls are already on Earth. They are infiltrating the power structures that we know or thought we knew. And this is not a spoiler, you're thrown right into this on the very cold open of the series that just lets you know the levels of intrigue and the stakes are already high. And as you find out things along with the characters, I love stories that make me feel like I'm learning things, but leave me with more questions as we go along in this story. And that's how you have these characters feeling. Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Talos, it feels like they're in way over their heads with this situation. There is so much they do not know, and these are characters that thrive and excel on having all the information and keeping it from others. So when you put these characters in a position where they have no idea what is going on, they have no idea who they can trust, they have no idea who is who, it is immediately interesting. It is immediately compelling. So it feels like the right characters are in the right story. Because obviously, you can't do a direct adaptation of Secret Invasion from the comics because the Skrulls were set up as generally good guys. This show takes a real mature and nuanced approach to that idea. Just like humans, there should be good Skrulls and there should be bad Skrulls. And so you get into all those emotional complexities. What happened after the events of Captain Marvel? What changed in the Skrull society once they learned of Earth, once they found an ally in Earth, and we found the true intentions of the Kree and more about the Skrull-Kree war. That's what these first 2 episodes dive into. And I don't know that Marvel is going to launch episodes 1 and 2 at the same time, but I'm very glad I was able to watch them back to back because these first 2 episodes feel like true setup. Complex, intriguing, and riveting to watch, where every piece feels like it's an important part of this conspiracy game. And I love this change from the comics because not only does it fit well into the MCU, but it feels bolder. It feels like something different that cannot be predicted. Because if you had all the main heroes, you could guess who's going to be a Skrull, who's not going to be, and it would ultimately dampen the impact of this show. You know, if it had Captain America or Thor or Iron Man, you would ultimately see them returning to normal. Where now you have Nick Fury, where now you have Maria Hill, where now you have Talos, who's a Skrull himself, and Everett Ross, and all those smaller, more side characters of the MCU, you don't really know who's going to be a Skrull, who's going to survive by the end of the show. Are you going to have Skrulls changing sides throughout the show? Is this secret war, covert, spy ops, cloak and dagger sort of situations, how they are really going to affect the MCU and other characters not going to know about it? That's what's most intriguing to me. It's the boots to the ground level storytelling that makes me more intrigued, makes me more captivated to watch as it all unravels. Because despite not having any main characters in in this show thus far, at least, I don't know who else is going to show up. You have more mystery added to the politicking, to the intrigue, to the spycraft of it all, to how these characters maneuver around, how they talk to one another. And so the dialogue becomes something really interesting to watch. The tone becomes this immersive paranoia thriller that you don't really know if you're listening to a real person talk. You don't even know if you're listening to a single real person talk. It could be two Skrulls in a scene, and you don't know. And in that sense, it's once more a refreshing change of pace for the MCU series that always feel like they're bolder and take more chances with structure and style and tone and genre. Secret Invasion feels very much like a follow-up to the events of Captain Marvel, but they are much more similar in tone, in politics, and in the themes it's discussing to a Winter Soldier or a Civil War. And it feels much more mature than any of what the other shows have done so far. It is easily one of the more grounded MCU projects in general that we've ever had. At least so far. I have only seen the first two episodes, but what the first two episodes do is highlight the real stakes of what is going on, where you get to understand a little bit more of Nick Fury, the character's challenge and question the idea of who Nick Fury is, of the Nick Fury that we know or thought we knew. How has he changed since the blip? What has he been doing going off from Earth since the blip? Able to add layers to Nick Fury that weren't there before. The same goes to Talos, that now has to combat so many emotional complexities that he is trying to protect his species, while at the same time his species are the enemy. And everyone just does such a great job. From Samuel L. Jackson, Kobe Smulders, Ben Mendelsohn, Olivia Colman doesn't have many scenes in these first two episodes, but the scenes she does have, it's true Olivia Colman glory. I love that in just one moment, we get to understand that there's so much history between her and Nick Fury. And Emilia Clarke, who you know I'm always going to gush about, I love her as Gaia Talos' daughter, is an immediately compelling character because of how the show changes the structure of the story into being a refugee tale that has maturity to it, that has complexity to it, and puts this character right at the center of the drama, right at the center of the conflict, and gives her legitimate reasons to be conflicted as to what side is right. Whose side does she choose? And there's something really intriguing about her because they show so little of her, but at the same time, every moment with her feels pivotal to what direction the show can take. Kingsley Ben-Adir as Gravik, the leader of the Skrull Rebellion, in the first episode alone shows how ruthless he is, but at the same time, shows how strong his conviction is, how dedicated, devoted he is to his cause and to his people. And the way this show lays it out, it gives interesting and compelling, relatable motivations to all these characters. Think about what Falcon and the Winter Soldier tried to do with the Flag Smashers in the background. That's the story here. That's the main focus here. And it just lays a much more interesting and complex foundation. Where you go into the ending of episode 1 and you're just left with shock at what this villain can do, what this villain wants to do, how personal it is to Nick Fury, and the stakes have already risen by the end of one episode, which I think is easily the best premiere out of any MCU show. The second episode feels a little bit more jumbled, and I think it can look better in retrospect as we get more information, more context with the rest of the show, but it feels a little bit more scattered. Like it's going on a lot of different directions instead of focusing in from what happened in episode 1. And so not everything feels clear in episode 2. And I don't think I loved it. I think it worked much better when I watched these 2 episodes back to back instead of just watching one day and the second one on the day after on my laptop. Back to back, it works much better. It feels like a movie. It feels like a true start to a story. And you have questions raised, and they are interesting questions. It's just a matter of how the show is going to tackle them, because once more, we have only 6 episodes. And a lot of times, these MCU Disney Plus shows have a tendency to start off great, have a lot of promise, and then they just go in tangents that don't always connect, and they don't always stick the landing. I hope this show is not going to be that, because right now it could very well be the best project of Phase 5. It could very well be the best MCU show thus far. I just love that it feels personal, it feels serious, it feels mature, and it feels different from the rest of the pack. I'm not in absolute love with this show because of how scattered that second episode feels, but there is so much in this show that is rich with potential. There is so much in that first episode that I love, and I hope we can keep exploring these characters intimately while delivering a story that feels grand, that feels consequential, and that affects the rest of the MCU around it. Because right now, wisely, it's happening in a bubble. It's affecting the ground level of the MCU, the socio-political spy sphere that involves Nick Fury. And so far, it's great. Can it keep consistency with that level of quality? We will see. So as I dive into my final thoughts on Secret Invasion episodes 1 and 2, it's time for you to start the conversation in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on Secret Invasion, on the original comic book storyline, if you're excited for the show, if you've seen the show, and what is your favorite MCU Disney Plus show premiere thus far, anything and everything down there. And if you're enjoying this MCU conversation, I reviewed every MCU show and every MCU movie in a playlist somewhere around here. I'm sure you enjoy that video as well. Or if you just want to talk more movies and TV, this is the place to be. Consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. Secret Invasion is refreshingly somber and mature in tone and atmosphere, twisting the original narrative into a refugee story with riveting stakes on the socio-political spy sphere of the MCU and offering an intimate introspection on Nick Fury. It's a bold and intriguing start with a lot of promise. Those are my thoughts on Marvel's Secret Invasion, the first 2 episodes. Let's see if it can keep up with this level of quality and offering another great MCU show. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel, and I'll be back very soon. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.